Officer Ryan drove his patrol car slowly through the quiet town as heavy snow fell from the dark sky. The road looked empty and peaceful, but the cold air made the night feel heavy and tense. Streetlights reflected softly on the snow, and everything seemed frozen in time. Ryan had worked many night shifts before, but this one felt different in his heart. The cold pressed through his uniform and reminded him how harsh winter could be. The radio made a sharp sound and broke the silence inside the car. A report came in about strange crying sounds near an old warehouse outside town. The caller sounded unsure but worried enough to ask for help. Ryan answered calmly and turned the steering wheel toward the warehouse road. Snow became thicker as he drove farther from the town center. The warehouse area was old and forgotten, and most people avoided it at night. Ryan parked his car near a broken fence and stepped outside carefully. The wind hit his face hard and his breath turned into white mist. Snow reached his boots and made each step slow and heavy. He closed the car door gently and stood still to listen. At first he heard only the wind moving through broken metal. Then he heard a soft sound carried through the cold air. It was a weak crying sound that came and went. Ryan followed the sound slowly and carefully across the snow. As he walked closer, his heart began to beat faster. Near the warehouse wall he saw a shape that made him stop suddenly. A thin brown dog stood tied to a metal post. Snow covered her back and her ears drooped from cold. Her legs shook, but she remained standing. At her feet were several tiny shapes pressed together. Ryan knelt down slowly to look closer. They were puppies, very small and barely moving. Snow had gathered on their bodies, and their cries were weak. The mother dog looked at Ryan without fear or anger. Her eyes showed pain and deep exhaustion. She leaned slightly toward her puppies, as if protecting them. Ryan spoke softly and kept his movements slow and gentle. He removed one glove and brushed snow away from the puppies. Their bodies felt cold, but they were still alive. Ryan felt a tight pain in his chest. Someone had left them here in the snow. Ryan looked closely at the rope tied around the dog. It was tied carefully and evenly. It did not look rushed or careless. This detail confused him deeply. Ryan noticed footprints around the post. They showed that someone had stood there for a long time. The marks were steady and slow. The person had not run away quickly. The mother dog shifted her weight again. Her legs trembled from the effort of standing. She refused to sit or lie down. Ryan realized she was standing to keep her puppies from the snow. She was using her body to block the cold wind. Ryan removed his coat and carefully placed it over the puppies. The mother dog watched every movement closely. She did not move away or show fear. She trusted him completely. That trust made Ryan swallow hard. He had seen many difficult things in his job, but this moment felt heavier than most. Ryan called for help on his radio and asked for animal rescue immediately. He stayed beside the dog and puppies while waiting. Snow continued to fall around them quietly. Ryan spoke softly to the dog even though she could not understand the words. Animal rescue arrived after some time with warm blankets and tools. They moved carefully and calmly through the snow. The puppies were lifted gently and wrapped in thick blankets. The mother dog tried to step closer, but the rope held her back. Ryan helped cut the rope free from the post. When the rope fell away, the dog did not run. She stepped closer to her puppies and lowered her head. Her body shook from cold and exhaustion. The rescue team placed the dog and puppies into a warm vehicle. The dog stayed close to her babies at all times. Ryan sat nearby and watched their breathing slowly become calmer. As the vehicle drove away, Ryan stood alone near the warehouse. The empty post remained covered in snow. The wind erased footprints slowly. Ryan knew this moment would stay with him forever. This was only the beginning of the story. The rescue vehicle moved slowly through the snow-covered road while warm air filled the inside space. The puppies were wrapped tightly in blankets and placed close together. Their tiny bodies trembled less as the warmth reached them. The mother dog stayed pressed near them and never took her eyes away. Ryan sat quietly nearby and watched them carefully. He felt relief knowing they were no longer in danger. At the same time, many questions filled his mind. He wondered who had left them in such a place. He wondered why the rope had been tied with care. When the vehicle reached the shelter, the doors opened gently. Bright lights and warm air welcomed them inside. Staff members moved quickly but calmly. They spoke in low voices to avoid causing fear. The puppies were carried into a clean room with soft beds. The mother dog followed closely with slow steps. Her body was weak, but her spirit stayed strong. She sniffed the air and stayed close to her babies. A vet entered the room and knelt beside the puppies. She checked their breathing and gently warmed their paws. The puppies made soft sounds and pressed closer together. The vet smiled softly when she saw them respond. The mother dog watched every movement carefully. She did not show anger or fear. She only showed concern and patience. Ryan stood nearby and felt a deep respect for her. The vet examined the mother dog next. She noticed how thin she was. Her ribs were easy to see under her fur. Her legs trembled from standing too long in the cold. The vet explained that the dog had stayed standing for hours. She said the dog had done it to protect her puppies. Ryan listened closely and felt his throat tighten. The meaning of the rope became clearer. The rope had not been used with cruelty. It had been used with hope. Someone had tied the dog where help might come. Someone had believed someone else would find her. Ryan sat on a chair near the wall. He watched the puppies sleep peacefully for the first time. The mother dog finally lay down beside them. She rested her head on the floor and closed her eyes. Ryan felt a strong wave of emotion rise in his chest. He had seen many difficult moments in his career. This one touched him in a different way. After some time, Ryan stepped outside the room. The shelter hallway was quiet and warm. He leaned against the wall and took a deep breath. His hands still felt cold even inside the building. Later that evening, Ryan returned to the warehouse area. He wanted answers. Snow still covered the ground deeply. The metal post stood alone where the dog had been tied. Ryan walked slowly around the area. He noticed footprints leading away from the post. They moved toward a small shed behind the warehouse. The shed looked old but cared for. Ryan knocked gently on the door. After a moment, the door opened slightly. An older man stood there with tired eyes. His clothes were worn and his hands shook from cold. The man introduced himself as Sam. Ryan explained why he was there. Sam listened quietly and lowered his head. Sam spoke slowly and carefully. He explained that the dog had followed him weeks ago. She had been hungry and tired. He shared what little food he had. Sam said the dog gave birth near the shed. He tried to keep them warm with old cloth. When the storm warning came, he panicked. He had no phone and no money. Sam said he tied the dog near the road so someone would see her. He stayed all night watching from a distance. When he saw the patrol car, he left quietly. Ryan listened without judgment. He saw honesty and regret in Sam's eyes. Sam never wanted harm. He only wanted help to arrive. Ryan thanked Sam for telling the truth. He assured him the dog and puppies were safe. Sam closed his eyes and sighed deeply. That night, Ryan returned to the shelter. The puppies slept peacefully in a warm pile. The mother dog lifted her head when Ryan entered. Her eyes were calm and gentle. Ryan sat beside her quietly. He felt tears form without warning. They came from relief and understanding. He wiped his face and stayed a moment longer. Morning light entered the shelter slowly and warmed the quiet rooms with a soft glow. The puppies stirred gently and pressed closer to their mother as they woke. Their small bodies felt warmer and stronger than the day before. The mother dog opened her eyes and watched them carefully. Shelter staff entered quietly and smiled at the sight. They spoke softly and moved slowly to keep the calm. Fresh water and food were placed nearby. The mother dog ate carefully and then returned to her puppies. Ryan arrived later that morning with warm coffee in his hands. He walked through the shelter halls with steady steps. His mind still carried the images from the snowy night. When he entered the puppy room, he felt his chest loosen. The puppies were no longer shaking. Their breathing was steady and peaceful. The mother dog lifted her head and looked at Ryan. Her eyes showed recognition and trust. Ryan sat on the floor near them. He watched the puppies crawl over each other. They made small sounds that filled the room with life. The mother dog gently nudged them closer together. A shelter worker named Anna joined Ryan. She explained that the puppies were improving well. She said the mother dog was strong despite her weakness. She said her care for the puppies had saved them. Ryan nodded and listened quietly. He felt deep respect for the animal before him. He realized strength did not always look loud or powerful. Outside the shelter, the town slowly learned the story. Neighbors talked about the dog found in the snow. People shared the story with care and emotion. Kind messages reached the shelter throughout the day. Donations arrived in boxes and bags. Blankets, food, and supplies filled the storage room. People wanted to help in any way they could. Hope spread quietly through the town. Ryan returned to his patrol duties that afternoon. As he drove through town, he noticed small changes. People waved more often. Kindness felt closer than before. Later that evening, Ryan stopped by the shelter again. He brought a new toy for the puppies. They responded with clumsy excitement. The mother dog watched with calm patience. Anna asked Ryan a simple question. She asked if he would consider adopting the mother dog. Ryan was silent for a moment. He looked at the dog and then at the puppies. He said he needed time to think. But his heart already knew the answer. Over the next few days, the puppies continued to grow. Their eyes opened slowly. They learned to stand and wobble forward. The shelter staff laughed quietly at their efforts. The mother dog grew stronger as well. Her coat became cleaner and softer. She walked with more confidence each day. She stayed close to her puppies at all times. Ryan visited daily whenever his shift allowed. He sat with them and spoke softly. He felt peace in their presence. The heavy feeling inside him slowly eased. Sam returned to the shelter one afternoon. He stood near the entrance, unsure and quiet. Anna welcomed him gently. Ryan joined them shortly after. Sam looked thinner than before. His eyes filled with emotion when he saw the dog. The mother dog noticed him and wagged her tail. The moment was silent and full of meaning. Sam thanked Ryan quietly. He said he had prayed for help that night. He said he never wanted harm. Ryan placed a hand on his shoulder. Local groups offered Sam assistance. Warm meals and clothing were arranged. Support reached him when he needed it most. Sam accepted with gratitude and humility. The puppies were soon ready for new homes. Families visited the shelter with care and excitement. Each puppy found gentle hands and warm hearts. The adoptions were handled with patience and respect. The mother dog watched each goodbye calmly. She seemed to understand the change. Her trust in people remained strong. One quiet evening, Ryan returned after the last puppy left. The room felt different but peaceful. The mother dog sat alone and looked up at him. Ryan knelt beside her and smiled softly. He spoke gently and promised she would not be alone. He signed the adoption papers that night. The decision felt natural and right. As they walked out together, the dog stayed close to his side. Snow had begun to fall again outside. But this time the cold felt lighter. The journey was not finished yet. Ryan brought the mother dog home on a quiet evening as soft snow fell around the town. She walked beside him calmly and looked around with curious eyes. The house felt warm and silent as they entered together. Ryan placed a blanket near the heater and set a bowl of food nearby. The dog moved slowly and carefully, as if unsure this was real. She sniffed the floor and the walls and then looked back at Ryan. Her tail moved gently, showing trust and comfort. Ryan sat on the floor and spoke softly to her. He chose the name Hope because it felt right in his heart. Hope lay down near him and rested her head on her paws. Her breathing was calm and steady. Ryan felt a peace he had not felt in a long time. Days passed quietly and Hope adjusted to her new life. She followed Ryan through the house and waited by the door when he left. She greeted him each time with gentle excitement when he returned. The house felt alive in a simple and comforting way. Ryan continued his work as an officer, but something inside him had changed. He noticed people more closely and listened more carefully. Small acts of kindness stood out to him more than before. The memory of the snowy night stayed with him. Hope grew stronger each week. Her coat shined and her steps became confident. She enjoyed walking in the snow without fear. Ryan watched her play and felt proud. The town never forgot the story of the dog and her puppies. People spoke about it as a reminder of care and responsibility. Children learned about kindness through the story. The shelter received more support than ever before. Ryan visited the shelter often with Hope. The staff greeted her warmly and smiled at her progress. Hope wagged her tail and moved calmly through the rooms. She remembered the place where her puppies had grown safe. Sam also found stability with help from the community. He found a small warm place to stay. He volunteered when he could and stayed humble. He never forgot the night help arrived. One afternoon Sam visited Ryan and Hope. Hope recognized him and approached with gentle steps. She wagged her tail and looked up at him. Sam smiled with relief and gratitude. He thanked Ryan again for understanding. Ryan told him kindness often appears in difficult forms. They stood quietly for a moment. Snow fell lightly outside the window. As winter slowly faded, the town returned to normal routines. But something lasting remained beneath the surface. People looked out for one another more often. The story had changed them in small ways. Hope became a symbol of quiet strength. Ryan shared her story with new officers and young trainees. He reminded them to look closer and judge less. The lessons stayed with those who listened. On a clear morning, Ryan and Hope walked through a park. The sun reflected off the remaining snow. Hope ran freely and looked back often to make sure Ryan was there. Ryan smiled and felt grateful. He realized that some moments change a life forever. That cold night near the warehouse was one of them. It taught him that compassion can survive even the harshest storms. It showed him that hope can be tied in the cold and still endure. As they walked home together, Ryan knew the journey had come full circle. Hope was no longer tied or afraid. She was home and loved. And so was he.